Hi pals, it's Mick, and if you have severe arachnophobia, this one is not for you. So I'm gonna start off with the fine liner here, and I have a couple of YouTuber apologies to make, and I know that I'm not really, when are you considered a real YouTuber? I don't know, but I guess dress for the job that you want, not the job you have. I don't know. Anyway, I want to take a second to apologize for my nails in this video because usually I have them done, I paint them myself and I do gel polish and I'm usually really proud of them, but they're just like a little bit overgrown and under manicured and I am really upset about it. But I've been waiting for a set of nail polishes that you might have seen me post about on my Instagram. If you follow me there, there's a link in the description below, and they are supposed to be some Halloween colours that I've ordered and they just haven't come yet, so I've just been waiting for them and they're not here, and so I just haven't painted my nails. And the second apology is that once I finish with this liner, you're going to see the next clip is that I have already started painting. And this one is because I thought that I was filming, but I wasn't. So sorry about that, but you didn't miss much. I just have done the first wash of blue for her skin, and that brings me to the prompt for this video. The prompt for this one is a mixture of vampire and spider. So that's why she has a spider and why she's blue, because I didn't really feel like drawing fangs under lips that were closed, so I thought to push it I would give her a pointy ear, and then I ended up making her skin blue. And this is an idea that I picked up from I'm a Wonder, because this is kind of how she draws vampires, so I took a little bit of inspiration from her, and I really wanted to draw somebody holding a spider. I don't remember where I got this prompt from, unfortunately. I saw it on Instagram and it was like a prompt list and it was just a collection of pairs, and this is one of the pairs, vampire and spider. So that's what I chose to go with today. If you know what the prompt is or who came up with this original prompt, not that it's like particularly original, but if you do know of a prompt list that has vampire and spider together, please do let me know in the comments and I will link it in the description. But for this one, it's really just I saw the words vampire and spider together and I was a little bit inspired, so this is what happened. I went over her skin quite a few times because I couldn't get the blue exactly as I wanted it. Initially I was like, yes, I want it to be a really bright cobalt blue, and that's what I went with, but you'll see a little bit further on that I do end up deepening it up and kind of desaturating it a little bit with a more indigo blue. I'd also like to add another apology here. Sorry, the lighting keeps changing because I still haven't figured out my lighting situation. It's just a real struggle bus for me. So I'm still using natural light because I think that looks the best. Even if it does change from time to time, I think that's alright. So yeah, I do really enjoy doing different skin colours than what can naturally be found on humans. One, because it is more interesting, I think, to look at, and two, because I tend to find it easier. I find skin colours really hard to mix, whether they be light, deep, in between. I just struggle with it a lot. So a nice way to counteract that is just instead use blue, I guess. So anyway, hopefully she looks like a vampire. I also gave her kind of claw-ish nails, not that they're too dissimilar from probably my own nails at this point, although mine don't go down to a point. But yeah. And I looked up a reference for this pose because I really wasn't sure how to draw the hand that I wanted, and I couldn't be able to take a photo of myself. So basically I just googled girl with spider. And I found one similar to this. It was a little bit different, but I just took some elements from it that I liked. Mostly the hand and the spider, because I don't draw spiders or many animals at all that often, so I definitely needed a reference for that. And I'm really pleased with how the face came out for this one because I did use the reference for the shading, and I think that that made a difference. I also tried to do a little bit less kind of blending and rendering for this face, and I like how it kind of turned out a little bit more painterly than usual. So now that I've spoken a little bit about the painting, I guess I don't have too much more to say, but I did want to mention that the paper that I'm working on is the same cold press watercolor paper that I was working on last week, but I didn't really talk about it last week as much as I wanted to. Basically, I'm finding that I'm really enjoying it, and I didn't think I would. Because I usually use hot press watercolor paper, I usually don't have very much time to work with my paints. They dry very quickly because I tend to stick my hand in paint and then it smudges and I get paint everywhere in places that I don't want it, which you might have noticed because a lot of the time I leave in my videos when I mess up and when I have to clean up a bit of paint. Not something that I point out, but definitely something that I've done in the past. So when my paint doesn't dry quickly, I am really much more cognizant of that, and I try to make sure that I don't do it more than if I've got hot press watercolor paper, because I expect it to dry fast, so I don't consider it. Whereas when I'm working on this cold press, it makes me more considerate of the fact that the watercolor could still be wet. And the other thing about the watercolors staying wet for a little bit longer means that it's possible for you to get a wash over a wider surface area without it drying on you and then causing edges. So essentially that just means that it's going to be a lot more even and look a lot nicer and much less patchy. However, it does have a lot more texture than hot press watercolor paper, and I'm still not sold on that. But I also don't hate it, and I think I'm going to keep using this at least throughout this month and see how I continue to like it. The colours in this piece are not something that I generally gravitate towards, but I am trying to play with my colour palettes lately. That being said, I did sort of limit what I was doing with this piece, and I was trying to be really mindful about how things would go together. So even the brown in the spider here is kind of mixed with a purple or a maroon in order to make it a little bit more cohesive with the painting. I've coloured her shirt or top, I'm really not sure what it is because she's covering it with her arms. I really wasn't sure what to do. But I coloured that purple, and then I used that same purple, but I mixed in a little bit of indigo for her hair, so I thought that might make it more cohesive. And sort of the darker elements about her, like her lips and her nails, I used the same kind of blues, and I just made them a less saturated version and a darker version of the shadows that I'm using on her skin. So I definitely made a really big effort to make the colour palette work together, and I think that that really lent itself to how much I ended up liking this piece. And as I move towards the end of this one, I also did this background of a half moon, which I sketched by using 2 different size bowls as a stencil, and that worked out surprisingly well. And I made this the same colour as the spider, or at least the accents on the spider. But I absolutely just couldn't help myself, and I couldn't stay away from metallics for 2 weeks in a row, and I added a layer of gold over top of this. Because it's a metallic watercolour, you can sort of see the other colour shining through from beneath it, and I really like how this looks. It's metallic, but it's still cohesive with the rest of the piece, and I was just really pleased with it. And thank you to all my friends who helped me make the decision on this background, because I wasn't sure if I was going to add a background, and I'm really glad I did. I think it really brings the composition of the piece together. So I'm just adding the final touches. For once I didn't add any white gel pen, instead I've just gone ahead and signed it. And now, unlike last week, I am going to remove this sheet properly, but like last week, the paper still does have a little bit of warping, so I guess that's just kind of how it is with watercolour. Everything's just going to warp the page slightly and you just have to deal with it. But anyway, there you have it. I'm going to move the page around now so that you can see the metallic shine and appreciate it, even though it doesn't show up nearly as well on camera. And she's done. So this is my third Inktober drawing, and this one is for the prompt vampire and spider. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, please like the video if you liked it, share if you think it's worth sharing, and hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I upload. Bye pals!